Firstly, I just wanted to say a big hello and a warm welcome to everybody that's joined our Croud Academy live session today. We're going to be focusing on how to boost your online visibility using Google My Business, particularly relevant subject at the moment in wake of the pandemic. So to get started, I'd like to introduce my co-host first. That's Bianca Evans. She's an SEO account manager and she's based at the Croud office in Shrewsbury. And I'm Rachel Ellen. I'm an SEO project manager and I'm based at Croud in London. To run you through a very quick agenda for today, we're going to be covering a quick intro to GMB, essentially what it is and why it's important as part of any local SEO strategy. We're also going to be then focusing on two key areas of importance in terms of visibility and ranking. This includes covering NAP data, core business information, and the importance and power of Google reviews. We're then going to be running through 8 easy to implement features that you can apply to your Google My Business profiles. We're calling these our quick wins as they're simple and free to start using. And then we're going to tie everything up with 4 key takeaways to summarize the learnings from today's session. And we're then going to move into our Q&A session. So again, drop any questions in. We'll answer as many as we can when we get to the end. Okay, so according to Google, 46% of searches now have a local intent. This equates to roughly 97 million local searches per month. And given COVID-19 over the past 18 months, people's browsing and shopping habits have really changed. They've started to turn online. They're looking for more local businesses that are close to their homes, having been stuck indoors. So I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that this statistic will have skyrocketed over the last 18 months. We've pulled together some other insightful and kind of key local SEO statistics for you here. I wanted to just draw attention to the first one. I think this is particularly the most striking. 86% of people are now looking up the location of a business on Google Maps before they even visit. And this is where Google My Business can really have an impact. So let's start at the beginning. Google My Business, it's a free online local business listing service. It's powered by Google. There are obviously hundreds of different online directories out there, generalized or more industry specific. There's also social media platforms where you can create pages for your businesses there. But if you're going to invest your time and effort anywhere, Google My Business should be top of that list. It has the most influence and undoubtedly the most reach. If you aren't using it, it's almost likely that your competitors will be. That's a huge missed opportunity if you're not utilizing it already. Now, if you're like me, you probably use Google My Business pretty frequently. I know I've certainly used it hundreds of times, particularly during COVID pandemic, being stuck indoors, whether that's been looking for opening hours for the businesses that have been open, looking up local telephone numbers, directions to places perhaps that I've not been to before, or even looking to see if my local restaurant is delivering. To give you a bit of a real world example, I've recently got into boxing myself. I am very much a novice. But because I wanted to commit, I felt I wanted to go out and buy my own boxing gloves. You know, if I've spent the money, then hopefully I'll keep at it. So what I did was I searched online for local stockists in my area. I then browsed listings that Google provided to help me find a business that I felt was suitable. So this was one that was easy to get to, was open on a Sunday, as that's when I was planning to go out, that it had parking on site, and most importantly, it had some really good Google reviews. So other customers that have been there, that have used it, I could take their advice and trust that I was kind of going to get a good deal and have staff on site that could help me. Now, it's really important to note that while you can set up a Google My Business listing from scratch, absolutely anybody else can add a business's details to Google Maps, whether that's staff, owners, customers, or even just complete strangers to your business. Now, obviously, this can obviously be helpful sometimes, but it also carries a big risk in terms of accuracy. It's really important, therefore, to see that if your business is already listed, you should make sure that you're claiming and verifying ownership of that. This will give you much more control over the information that's on your profile and will also allow you to utilize all of its free tools and engagement features. Doing all of this will help you expand your online presence and indirectly drive more traffic to your website. So, what does a GMB profile actually look like? You can see here we've got the desktop and the mobile version. These are both covering exactly the same search. This is a search that I did earlier this week for the iconic Tiffany's jewellery store. Now, I've specifically searched for Tiffany's Covent Garden, London. So it's a particular branch that I was looking for. And you can see that this shows on desktop. We've got my search query at the top. You've got paid results, then organic results below that. And then over to the right-hand side of the screen, you've got the knowledge graph showing that particular branch in Covent Garden. You can see their Google My Business profile pretty prominently there. On the other side of the screen, you've got the same search with the mobile result. And here you can see the same business profile. It's really prominent. It's right there at the middle in the top. Now, it's important to note that this was for a branded search with quite particular local intent. But I just wanted to highlight that even when you're searching with no local content at all, you can still receive local results. But this leads us on to the 3-pack. Now, the 3-pack, which is also known as the map pack or the local pack, this shows up in over 90% of local related searches. It's extremely visible. It's really attention grabbing, and it's driven by 3 key points. These are relevance, distance, and prominence. Relevance in terms of your search terms, distance is the proximity of the user to the businesses that are being returned to them, and prominence is how trustworthy and credible Google considers those businesses to be. Now, again, we can see a mobile result here showing the local pack. This was for another search that I did. This time I only searched for simple diamond earrings. There was no brand terms, no local intent. And Google has matched 3 jewelers businesses local to where I'm searching from. These have been influenced by data that Google has essentially collated from multiple sources, but mostly influenced by GMB profile content. Some of these influences you can see, we've actually highlighted them in the yellow boxes on the 2nd and 3rd listings. And these are what are known as justifications. These have come from customer reviews, and then the one at the bottom has come specifically from content on the business's own website. You can also see if each of them have got associated photos down the right-hand side. They've also all got Google reviews and an overall healthy star rating. There are, of course, many ways that you can increase your chances of ranking in the local pack. I'm just going to mention a few of the key ones: on-page optimization, creation of local content, managing your business snap consistency across all your citations, leveraging the power of reviews, optimizing your keywords, but most important, claiming and verifying your Google My Business listing. So now we know what GMB is. We wanted to focus in a little more detail on 2 specific areas. The first being NAP data and core business information, which Bianca is going to introduce to us.
Hello everyone. NAP stands for name, address and phone number, and is the compulsory information used to create a business profile and influence the main category. You can include core information such as links to the website and business hours in the information tab in the GMB profile. Accuracy is key here, as Google will routinely validate information to return what it deems most accurate for users. Our key advice is to settle on one format for your business name, address and phone number, and use that throughout your entire online presence, such as on your website, other listings and citations. Breaking this down, we first have business name. Google is looking to match your name exactly with how customers see it in the real world, such as on your storefront, signage, stationery, and online via your website. You should avoid keywords or locations, as this is against Google's guidelines, and be prepared to provide proof to Google for verification. Next, we have categories, which has one of the biggest impacts on the search terms you'll rank for. You should choose the category that best matches your main business offering. If there is no exact match, choose the best that encompasses what you offer and is the nearest match to your main keyword. You can have up to 9 additional categories that can be more specific, but don't feel the need to fill all subcategories. Only add the most relevant to your business. And please remember, you should routinely review the available categories, as Google regularly amends and adds routinely. It's important to note categories unlock attributes and other features, so it's vital to select the most appropriate for your business.
Okay, so moving on to business address. Obviously, this one's particularly key for making sure that customers can find you when they want to visit. First and foremost, you should complete and provide as an accurate address for your business as possible. As Bianca mentioned, you should stay really consistent with your formatting. And then you need to choose what type of business you have, whether that's a storefront business where you'd simply enter your address in the available fields, or perhaps you're a service area business. So this is where you would visit or deliver to customers directly rather than having a storefront. So businesses such as plumbers, cleaners, electricians, and similar. Setting up a service area allows you to show a geographical area from your profile that your business serves. You also might consider yourself a hybrid business. So this is where you would serve customers both at your physical location, but you might also deliver products and services to your customers directly. In this case, you should set a storefront address, but the key point here is that you must make sure that your hours are staffed at that address, and then you can also designate a service area. A few additional points that can help you with addresses is tweaking your map pins. Now, Google's generally pretty good at dropping your pin in the right location as long as you've given an accurate address. However, occasionally there may be a little bit of tweaking to do. Sometimes Google, particularly for areas that are perhaps newly added to maps or perhaps haven't even been added to maps at all, such as new retail parks or business parks or big developments that kind of just basically haven't been updated yet. And sometimes the address might be a little bit off, or it covers such a wide area, such as a shopping mall or a shopping centre, that you need to tweak the map pin. So what we'd advise is, if you've got access to your long lap location, particularly for your kind of business entrance, is to tweak the map pin and have it hover over that address and over the entrance to your address. And that way, customers, particularly those that are coming by car or walking, so they're relying on Google Map directions, they'll be able to find their way directly into your store and kind of not get lost in an alley behind it. Moving on to telephone number. Now, primarily, the main number should be the number that's under your direct business control, and then it connects directly to your business staff. You should be avoiding premium rate numbers. Don't use call centres, it's against Google's guidelines. And then you can also add up to 2 additional numbers. It's a really good idea to utilise UTM tracking, because if you set it up correctly, this will gain you more metrics and insights. And then it's also worthy to note that if you need to verify ownership of your business, so whether you've just set your profile up or perhaps you've made some edits down the line and you need to re-verify in future, having your main telephone number in there, this will be the way that Google will potentially offer you an option to verify by phone. So you need to make sure that that phone number is correct. Verification by phone is by way the quickest and easiest. The alternatives are to use mail, which can sometimes take weeks to arrive.
Next, we have the website URL. You should ensure the listing landing pages are the most relevant for users and search engines. Users may need more information before making a purchasing decision, so it gives you complete control over the content on your website. You should consider the best page for your website to link to. If you're a single location business, you should look to link to the homepage, whereas if you're a multi-location business, you should look to link to the location pages. It's worth noting, if you have no location pages, you should perhaps consider creating them. And then finally, we have business hours. 54% of smartphone users still use their mobile devices to look up business hours. This is why it's important to keep your customers up to date. Set your business main hours. The best practice is to change your hours for holidays or other temporary periods by setting special hours like Christmas or bank holidays. Or you can even show specific features and services by selecting more hours, such as drive-through, takeaway, happy hours, or even access hours.
Okay, so to summarise the last few slides, the overarching theme here is accuracy, consistency, and legitimacy. So I just want to run through some really important points. Firstly, you should be settling on one format for your business information and make sure that you're consistent with this across your entire online presence. Secondly, make sure you're regularly reviewing Google's user and publisher suggestions. This not only helps keep data accurate, but you can also kind of mitigate any risks. Sometimes competitors do use Google suggestions to try and alter information on your business. Obviously, it's not a very nice way to go about things, but sadly it does happen. So if you're keeping on top of those suggestions, you can make sure that you're reverting back to the accurate information. And occasionally you might get some helpful suggestions, which can help you to improve the accuracy of your business profile information. Next, you should be regularly auditing user access and authority levels. So this includes keeping an eye on any Google notifications. These tend to come via email, where you've had ownership access requests. If these people that are trying to gain access to your profiles have no authority to do so, they're not related to your business, then you should be rejecting these. Also, reviewing this will allow you to remove old users, perhaps past members of staff that have left the business, perhaps an old SEO agency that was helping you manage your Google My Business listings. If they're no longer involved, just remove them to reduce the risk. Regularly review Google's guidelines. They've got quite a substantial, almost kind of Bible-sized guidelines for representing your business. These are ever evolving, always changing, whether that's a new feature has been introduced, so they'll update their guidelines to cover that, or they'll be making some word tweaks just to make it a bit clearer, sometimes based off feedback from users. You need to make sure that you are staying up to date with those. This just helps to reduce the risk of kind of inviting scrutiny into your account or to any profiles in particular, and reduces the risk for profile suspensions or being disabled. And kind of worst case, you can even risk having your entire Google account suspended. It can be really hard to get that reverted. Lastly, same way that we should be making sure we are adhering to guidelines, we can also try and influence the way that users are following those same guidelines. So we should be regularly reviewing any content that's being uploaded to our profiles, whether that's photos, Google reviews, or any other user uploaded content. And if we feel that it's contravening guidelines, then we can use the little flag icon to send a report to Google, and hopefully they'll review it and then determine whether it is breaking any guidelines. And if so, then they'll remove it. Okay, so Bianca's now going to talk us through the importance of Google reviews.
In a Bright Local study in 2020, reviews were considered the second biggest influencer of local ranking, with keywords in Google reviews, high Google ratings, and quality of Google reviews with text all being important. Google reviews provide opportunity for customers' feedback based on experience, brand acknowledgement, and can even give customers the confidence to visit or purchase. To best take advantage of Google reviews, you should actively seek customer reviews, respond to every review, good or bad, and report inappropriate reviews that contravene Google's guidelines. There are definitely right and wrong ways to deal with Google reviews. The golden rule is don't take it personally or argue back, even if you feel you're right. Remember, your response is public. We can see here 2 negative customer reviews for 2 different jewellery stores. First, we have a 1-star rated review with no response from the owner. This customer is statistically unlikely to return. And secondly, we have a detailed response from the owner where they have apologised, emphasised, reiterated that they have taken feedback seriously and offered a solution. And we follow with the good reviews. So there's positive reviews and they deserve and benefit from a positive response. Here you can see a really good review from the same jewellery business. What's important here is that the owner has taken the time to respond and acknowledge and thank the reviewer. Linking back to what Rachel mentioned earlier about justification, here on the right we have a really good example from our Croud listing of a review snippet lifted from a positive Google review and displayed within our GMB profile. This is another reason to encourage customers to leave a more detailed review, as it increases your chances of Google lifting content from your GMB profile to share in the local pack.
Thanks, Bianca. So now we've looked at the importance of accurate core data and reviews. We've pulled together a collection of easy to implement GMB features that should be able to help result in some really quick wins in terms of visibility. So firstly, there's Google Images. Adding images and photos to your profile can really help reflect your real world business. You can add a logo, you can add a cover image. These all help to improve your brand awareness and make you recognizable to customers when they come to visit you at the store. You can also add videos and also virtual tours. These can further invite customers to visit or to help them know what to expect when they do visit. Next, you should be showcasing your business. This is an opportunity to add a business description where you can tell your brand story and what truly sets you apart from your competitors. You've got a 750 character limit, and this displays in the About section as a message from the business. Moving on to opening dates. There's 2 quite distinct benefits from adding opening dates. The first is a fairly new feature that Google's introduced, and this is highlighting your business experience. So you can see there on the Croud listing that it says 10+ years in business. If we had left our opening date field empty, this would have defaulted to less than a year. So make sure you're utilising that feature, particularly if you've been in business for quite a long time. And then additionally, by adding an opening date, you can benefit from up to 90 days, that's 3 months pre-opening awareness. This allows you to start using Google Posts to add photos, descriptions, and it means that your opening date's also displayed on your profile. Next, we can publish attributes. Google attributes help you stand out as they inform customers looking at your profile on a range of different details about your business. These can include little snippet information about accessibility, payment options, amenities you have on site, different service related information, and also quite relevant now and in the past kind of 18 months is health and safety attributes. These cover things that are quite COVID related, so whether you would need to be wearing a mask to visit, or if you should expect to have a temperature check, and even if you should be expecting that staff will be wearing masks as well. Now, attributes are really prominent. They show just beneath the profile name and beneath the star rating, and they come with little ticks to show whether a business information applies to that particular profile.
Moving on, we have the ability to utilise our short names. So here we can generate shareable short URL links for the business profile and forms for leaving customer reviews. It makes it a lot easier for customers to find and follow your business on maps and search. Next, we have Google Posts, which give you the opportunity to directly communicate with local customers via a mini blog-like content post. You can promote sales, events, news and offers, as well as COVID-related posts, and you can engage through videos and photos. You can also add CTAs such as call now, learn more, or order online that you can link to the customer to more information, which is very handy. Following this, you can add products and services. The product editor allows you to showcase products to potential customers with the ability to link to the products on your website. You can showcase your key services on mobile devices and can include photos, descriptions, and prices. And then finally, we have Google Q&A. Users can answer and ask questions about the places and businesses found in search and maps. Business owners and other customers can respond to these Q&As, which gives you the ability to preempt common FAQs by publishing questions and their answers directly to listing profiles. In addition to quick wins, we wanted to share some additional opportunities to embed into your local SEO strategy. First of all, we should optimize on-page elements for local. So this could include in-depth keyword research, competitive reviews, localizing content and metadata, and to become more mobile friendly. Secondly, you could add local schema markup to your local business data, which future-proofs your local listings. And then you can also improve your local outreach through building links and citations by getting your business mentioned within search engines, social media platforms, and online directories. And then finally, we have the ability to utilize your GMB insights. You can identify strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities here, and utilize this alongside your UTM tracking for more precise monitoring.
Thanks, Bianca. Okay, so finally, we wanted to summarise 4 key messages for you to take away from today's session before we start our Q&A. Firstly, we've said this umpteen times throughout, but just to press the point home, you must be maintaining consistent accuracy across all your Google My Business profiles and elsewhere online. You should be embedding customer engagement, really paying attention to your Google reviews as part of your local SEO strategy. Ensure that you're staying up to date with all of Google's representation guidelines. As we said, they're frequently changing, so make sure you're staying on top of them. And lastly, utilize Google's tools and features. Most of them are really quick and easy to use. Most of them are free, and they'll all help to enhance your online presence. Okay, so that's the end of our session. Thank you, everybody who's stayed and listened. We're just going to have a little look and see if we've got any questions. If you've had a kind of a question burning as you've been going throughout, or you weren't sure about anything that we covered, feel free to drop it into that Q&A box there, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. Okay, so we've got the first one. Any advice for those new to GMB? Bianca, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, you can sign yourself up and subscribe to some local SEO dedicated sites that regularly release industry news and blogs. So that includes sites like Moz Local, Sterling Sky, or Bright Local. You should also follow people on LinkedIn, such as Joy Hawkins, Crystal Tang, and Greg Guilford. This can help you stay up to date with new features, algorithm updates, technical issues, updates to categories, troubleshooting tips. It's regularly reviewed, so it's very handy to keep on top of. There's also many updates, and Google have many step-by-step guides to help you utilize their features, which is a very handy tool to use. That's how I would definitely advise to use.
Okay. What's the best way to get support for listing errors or issues? So I guess when things don't go well.
Yeah. There's numerous avenues of support. If you manage listings directly, you can go via Google to get support via their dashboards, forums, or social media, via Twitter, such as if you go to @Google My Business. You can manage listings through if you manage listings through a publisher platform, such as Yext or Uberall, you can utilize their support services to escalate and advise. That's very useful. Okay, thanks.
What is a Google local guide and how does it relate to GMB? I can take this. Local guides, some of you might already be local guides, or you might have seen local guides leading kind of content, perhaps reviews or images, answering questions on forums. They've got like special little badges next to them to identify them. Essentially, local guides is like a program of like a global community of explorers. They're people that write reviews, they will share photos, they'll help answer questions. Most of them make lots of edits to Google Maps and Google Profiles. They fact check. It works on a point system, and the more points you earn, you kind of earn leveled badges. People are kind of quite competitive over it. All the edits that they make, they're tied to their Google account. So kind of in terms of consistency and reliability of those edits, they kind of do have a certain amount of influence. There's an assumed level of trust as far as Google's concerned with their local guides. So if somebody's making an edit or replying to a question, there's kind of like an element of responsibility for accurate contributions. Obviously, this does mean that it can be a little bit open to abuse. There's been kind of some contest over the kind of past few years. It's often a discussion on forums as to whether it's kind of a positive or negative thing. I mean, I'm a local guide myself, and I enjoy adding photos of places that I visit and leaving reviews. So on the whole, I think most people want to be a local guide to help. Anyone can be one, and it can earn you benefits. Say the kind of higher levels you climb, you can get access to Google features, you get local guide newsletters sent through by your email, and sometimes you even get special rewards for things. I've actually had a rather fetching pair of Google socks before, I think for reaching level 7. I can't remember. Anyway, we've got one other question. Are virtual offices and co-working spaces eligible for GMB listings? Okay, I'll answer this one. Grey area. Generally, virtual offices, no. Co-working spaces, basically, it depends. The official wording from Google has recently been updated. So again, this is another reason to make sure you're keeping on top of the guidelines, revisiting, especially for kind of very controversial areas like this. Basically, the rules are that, well, for co-working anyway, if you have permanent signage at your business, so even if the business owner isn't there, there needs to be permanent signage, not something that they bring with them and then take away again. So this might include permanent presence of kind of branded signage on a business's directory. So if they were based in an office block with other businesses, for example, that they'd be listed with their suite number. Sometimes you see directories kind of in lobbies and lift areas. So being on there would certainly help your case to have an eligible listing. The second, and perhaps one of the more important things, is you must have your business staffed by employees of that business, available for any customers to come and visit in person. during your stated hours of operation. So this is kind of why virtual offices are really not eligible, because they almost certainly don't have staff during their business hours. If somebody wanted to come and visit, they can't. There's generally, in a virtual office situation, there's nobody there. So if you're going to be advertising business hours on your listing, you must make sure that they're always staffed. And then lastly, Google prefers that in terms of co-working spaces, that you have a local number that is managed by you. So you're not utilising, perhaps in like an office block, you're not utilising that office kind of main reception and kind of relying on their staff to answer the phones for you. You need to make sure that that telephone number comes directly through to you or your staff. Virtual offices kind of aren't allowed as a business service either. Unfortunately, a lot of companies that run from a virtual office do try and get listed, but you will see that even if you find them in search, 9 times out of 10, if you looked back a few months later, they'd probably have been taken down. Google are quite hot on it, but they are popping up all the time. There was some kind of allowance for businesses that had to temporarily turn online because of COVID. As certain markets are starting to come out of that now, not quite sure what Google's going to do. They certainly won't be verifying any new listings or new profiles created solely for an online only business. I would say there was some allowance, so we'll have to kind of like keep an eye on that and see what happens. One more question. Have we got time? Yes, we have. I've had problems verifying businesses with the same address as other businesses who are already verified a few years ago. Is this still a problem? Absolutely, that is still a problem. It can be really, really difficult if your business is based at a shared address. So whether there's kind of multiple businesses across different offices, kind of all sharing the same address, or even just in shopping malls where there might be one overarching address and then they've got kind of unit numbers between them. I mean, we've dealt with business listings ourselves that are kind of quite frequently at high risk of duplication because of this very issue. The most important thing is that you can provide proof and evidence to Google that you're a legitimate business of your own. Usually what they'll require is storefront photographs, and these can be taken on kind of like your own cameras, even like cell phone, mobile cameras. Usually what we will ask businesses to do is to go outside their business as if they're a customer, take a photo of the storefront, try and get as much branding in that photo as possible, and then kind of almost follow the user's literal physical journey to go through into the entrance. If it's then a business contained alongside other businesses, take another photo as you would enter that business, take some photos of directories, stationery, anything else that's got your business branding and also shows your address. So let's say you're in a retail park and you're sharing the same address with, let's say, a dozen other retail stores. You probably find on the entrance to the car park, there'll be some kind of directory and your business will be listed on there, and possibly with a unit number. Take a photo of that. That kind of is definitely going to help prove to Google that you legitimately belong there. Sometimes you might find that listings kind of go a bit back and forth with people claiming ownership and then somebody claiming it back. But as long as you've both legitimately kind of got a right to be there, because you can prove with photographs, and sometimes they'll do video calls as well. Kind of occasionally, it doesn't happen very often, you might be able to provide kind of legal paperwork. Obviously you need to be careful, especially if you're an agency, that you've got the right to share those kind of documents, and just to prove you are based at that address. So kind of, I hope that kind of answers your question. I can give you a lot more detail on it. It's a really complicated and kind of long-winded process, but there's loads of different things you can try to fix that. So please, if you've got any questions or there's a specific kind of issue that you feel we might be able to advise you on, you can see Bianca and my contact details on screen now. Please feel free to drop us an email and we'll try and answer as best we can.